Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Tuesday, the 29th of May. India says it only follows the UN sanctions and not US sanctions on Iran. Afghanistan-Pakistan vow to bring peace talks back on track. And Federal Socialist Forum-Nepal to join Oli-led government. And now for all the details, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif held talks with his Indian counterpart Sushma Swaraj in New Delhi on Monday. The visit aimed to boost bilateral ties and seek support for Iran's nuclear deal from India.
Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif met his Indian counterpart Sushma Swaraj in New Delhi on Monday. Zarif's day-long visit was aimed at seeking India's support for its nuclear deal with world powers after the United States pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, which limited Iran's uranium enrichment in exchange for sanctions relief. He has been visiting leaders of several countries to discuss the future of the nuclear deal, including meeting the European Union, British, French and German counterparts in Brussels. India had earlier called for diplomacy to resolve the dispute over the Iran nuclear deal after the United States announced it was pulling out of the accord agreed with Tehran in 2015.
हमारा बहुत साफ कहना है कि हम यूएन सैंक्शंस को मानते हैं, कंट्री स्पेसिफिक सैंक्शंस को नहीं मानते। पिछली बार भी जब अमेरिका ने सैंक्शंस ईरान पे लगाई थी, तो हमारा व्यापार उनसे चलता रहा था।
New Delhi has long-standing ties with Iran, which is also one of its top oil suppliers. But it has developed close political and security ties with the United States.
Two US congressmen recently vowed to use every tool at their disposal to prevent Pakistan from oppressing ethnic and religious minorities. The congressmen expressed ire over human rights violations against the Mohajir community in Pakistan and hailed US sanctions on assistance to Islamabad.
Two United States congressmen recently vowed to use every tool at their disposal to prevent Pakistan from oppressing its natives. While addressing the inaugural ceremony of the Voice of Karachi and the South Asia Minorities Alliance Foundation in Washington, D.C., the congressmen expressed their ire over human rights violations against ethnic and religious minorities in Pakistan. They made it clear that the U.S. would not continue ties with such nations who treat their minorities just as any other group.
With every tool that we have in the toolbox, whether it's sanctions, whether it's the implication of global Magnitsky concepts on leaders who oppress their people, whether in Pakistan or anywhere, I will advocate on behalf of that.
Further, another congressman, Scott Perry, said American money or aid should not be given to countries who suppress their people.
I voted against funding for Pakistan because I thought they are not acting the way that we would in America. Number one, and you don't take American money and oppress your people with our money. That's not what we stand for.
Mohajirs have long claimed to have been suffering human rights violations at the hands of a nation which they say does not accept them as their own. They allege discrimination by Islamabad and demand banning the Pakistani army, which they say has been breeding and spreading militancy. They blame innocent people are subjected to torture, killings and enforced disappearances for raising their voices in the country.
Moving on, Dogra community from India's Jammu and Kashmir province recently organized an anti-Pakistan protest in London city. The protest aimed at highlighting the role of Pakistan in creating disturbances in Jammu and Kashmir through unprovoked ceasefire violations along the border, resulting in several casualties.
A community organization of Dogras belonging to India's Jammu and Kashmir province recently staged a protest against ceasefire violations along the border by Pakistan. The protest was conducted in front of the Pakistani High Commission in London in solidarity with the Jammu border villages, which Pakistan targets using both small arm fires and heavy caliber weapons, causing extensive damage to both life and property. The protesters also highlighted the recent death of an 8-month-old child in the incidents of unprovoked firing by Pakistan during the holy month of Ramzan.
I request Pakistan to stop bleeding our borders, stop killing our people. And are you really that strong that you really got scared from this 8-month-old kid? It's really shameful. Stop fighting.
Continued ceasefire violations by Pakistani troops in the past week led to fear among the villagers living in border areas, forcing them to leave their homes to take shelter in government camps. India also accuses Pakistan of training and infiltrating militants across the border to spread unrest in Kashmir Valley. Pakistan denies the allegations.
In news from Afghanistan, security officials from Afghanistan and Pakistan recently held a meeting in Islamabad and agreed to resume efforts for peace negotiations in Afghanistan and to speed up the process of implementing the Joint Action Plan for Peace. The high-level meeting was crucial as Kabul has long accused Islamabad of harboring the militant group Taliban to operate against Afghanistan.
Afghanistan and Pakistan have agreed to resume efforts for peace negotiations in Kabul and to speed up the process of implementing the Joint Action Plan for Peace, officials said on Monday. This comes a day after a high-level Afghan security delegation led by National Security Advisor Mohammad Hanif Atmar arrived in Pakistan, where they held discussions with Pakistani officials on a number of key issues. The issues included Afghanistan security, the war on terrorism, mutual cooperation and regional issues.
قراربایی شد که کمیته‌های دیگه هم در چارچوب از ایجاد شد و بتونن بحث‌ها را بیشتر ادامه بدیم.
Pakistan and Afghanistan agreed to draw up a plan in April following Pakistani Premier Shahid Khaqan Abbasi's trip to Kabul, where he held talks with Afghanistan's President Ashraf Ghani. The two leaders agreed to 7 key principles to finalize the action plan. Afghan officials have constantly accused Pakistan of harboring the leaders of the terror group Taliban, providing sanctuaries to them to operate against Afghanistan.
More in news from Afghanistan. Political parties and coalitions in Afghanistan have asked the Independent Election Commission to change the election system and them a greater share in the elections. The parties also held a protest meeting in Afghan capital Kabul and said they will continue the protest if the government and the poll body do not address their demands.
Political parties and coalitions in Afghanistan on Monday asked the Independent Election Commission or IEC to change the election system and give parties a greater share in the elections. Representatives of 28 political parties and groups held a protest meeting in Kabul and said that the current election system is not inclusive. The protest comes at a time when Afghanistan is scheduled to witness parliamentary and district council polls in October this year. Currently, elections are not party-based, but rather people vote for individuals.
احزاب طی نشست روز 29 ثور 1397 نظام انتخاباتی موسوم به MDR را به عنوان طرح مشترک و واحد احزاب تصویب نموده و قرار بود نسخه مکتوب آن را تسلیم کمیسیون 4 جانبه نمایند که با تأسف حکومت با نادیده انگاری خواست احزاب تا اکنون اقدام به تشکیل کمیسیون متذکره نکرده است.
داریم با کمیسیون انتخابات با دولت افغانستان با جامعه بین المللی یک بار دیگر را تاکید میکنیم که شما در مورد انتخابات طرح‌ها و برنامه‌های منطقی و اصولی احزاب را مد نظر بگیرید.
The parties and groups warned they would continue their protest in Kabul and in other provinces if the government and the poll body do not take action to address their demands. They have suggested that each province should be one constituency in the election and that they should be allowed to announce a list of their candidates in each province and introduce up to 250 candidates across Afghanistan.
Moving on to news from Nepal, once an agitating party demanding amendment in Nepal's constitution, the Federal Socialist Forum-Nepal is now likely to join the federal government. The party on Monday signed a 2-point agreement with the ruling Nepal Communist Party, according to which the government has agreed to address its demands on the basis of mutual understanding.
After signing a 2-point agreement with the ruling Nepal Communist Party on Monday, the Federal Socialist Forum-Nepal or FSFN is all set to join the government at the centre. As per the agreement inked in the presence of the two sitting chairmen of the ruling party, KP Sharma Oli and Pushpa Kamal Dahal, the government has agreed to address the FSFN's demands related to constitution amendment on the basis of mutual understanding. Nepalese Premier KP Sharma Oli has been constantly making promise to amend the constitution on the basis of the importance and the mutuality. FSFN was previously with a long-time disgruntled parties alliance known as the Federal Alliance, but later it was deferred as the FSNN chairman and the then coordinator of the alliance Upendra Yadav was ousted from the alliance. Though the FSFN differs from the Rashtriya Janata Party Nepal, they have the common demand of amendment in the constitution.
As Muslims across the world are celebrating the holy month of Ramadan, an Islamic poetry event was held in India's Jammu and Kashmir to bring forward the budding talent in the province. It also aimed to encourage the younger generation to participate in activities that promote brotherhood and peace, and to also pay tribute to Prophet Muhammad.
Hundreds of students from across India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province participated in an Islamic poetry event held in Srinagar city recently. The event was specially organized during the holy month of Ramadan, as Muslims across the valley are trying to engage themselves in activities like reciting their holy book Quran, consulting Islamic literature, attending Islamic conferences and other religious events. It provided a platform to the students to showcase their potential of Islamic poetry and writing skills.
हमें बहुत अच्छा लगा क्योंकि हम कुपवारा से आए हैं, यहाँ तक आए हैं और यहाँ पे इतना अच्छा सेमिनार इन्होंने कायम किया है कि हम जैसे मतलब छोटे-छोटे स्टूडेंट्स को, एक इन्फेंट पोइट्स को यहाँ पे हमें स्टेज फराहम किया गया है कि ताकि हम आए अपना टैलेंट हम निखार सकें.
The main aim of the event was to pay tribute to Prophet Muhammad, the founder of Islam, during Ramadan, and also make the students aware about the humanity and peace that the Prophet preached. The holy month of Ramadan is a time to detach from worldly pleasures and focus on one's prayers.
Around 30 women donated their hair at a special charitable event held recently for cancer patients in Dimapur city of India's northeastern Nagaland province. The hair will be converted into wigs and donated to less privileged chemotherapy patients.
As many as 30 women donated their hair at a special charitable hair donation event for cancer patients at a church in India's northeastern Dimapur city recently. The event Hair for Hope India was a first of its kind event in the northeastern region. The donated hair will be converted into wigs and donated to less privileged chemotherapy patients.
When I was diagnosed with cancer, I felt I've been thrown into a dungeon. And I always refer this cancer experience as a very dark and tumultuous journey. But at the end of the day, with proper treatment and positive attitude, I have been able to survive now. And as a cancer survivor, I made a pledge, or I made a commitment that I will come back and work for cancer patients who are undergoing through the same pain and anguish that I have gone through.
The donors, mostly young girls, pledged for a lifetime donation at the event. They were all felicitated with a certificate from the foundation. The event also saw the launching of Protect Your Mom Asia campaign, an initiative for breast cancer self-exam awareness under the same banner.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. India says it only follows the UN sanctions, not US sanctions on Iran. Afghanistan-Pakistan vow to bring peace talks back on track. And Federal Socialist Forum-Nepal to join Oli-led government. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com You can also visit us on facebook.com/Asia Newsline and follow us on Twitter @Asia Newsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.